Area 51. Just saying the name, it kind of sends shivers down your spine, doesn't it? I mean, we've all heard the stories, the conspiracies, the whispers, but today we're doing something a little different. We're leaving those tinfoil hats at home and taking a deep dive into a YouTube video we found called, get this, area51.txt.
Catchy, right.
And it promises to reveal 7 most incredible secrets.
Yeah.
It's Area 51.
Secrets. I like how you emphasize that, because that's the thing about Area 51. It's shrouded in secrecy.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so fascinating, so ripe for speculation. But beyond the UFOs and the alien encounters, there's a lot of real documented events, consequences even, that are worth exploring.
Totally. And this video jumps right into it. So secret number 7 dives into the location of Area 51 itself. We all know it's in the Nevada desert. But the video points out it was actually built on a former nuclear testing site. And that got me thinking, why would you build a top-secret facility, potentially housing who knows what, on contaminated land?
Right. It raises a lot of questions. Was the location so strategically important that it outweighed the risks? Or does it tell us something else about the priorities at play, you know? And what about the lasting impact, not just on the environment, but also on the people who lived through that time?
And that leads perfectly into the story of the Sheehan family, which is featured in this video. They owned land in the area and, get this, refused to sell to the government. Like, we're talking a reported $5.2 million in 1950s money.
Wow, that's a life-changing sum, even today.
Right, so what made them say no?
Well, the video suggests it was because of a valuable mine on their property. But what's really unsettling is what allegedly happened next. The Sheehans claimed they faced intimidation tactics, like low-flying planes buzzing their home, constant harassment. They believed it was all connected to their refusal to sell, and even worse, believed it led to radiation exposure and serious health problems down the line.
It's a really disturbing thought, you know. Their story, if it's true, is a reminder of the human cost of secrecy. And it gets even more concerning when the video mentions a reported 90% increase in cancer rates in the communities surrounding Area 51.
Yeah.
Is that just a coincidence? Or could it be linked to whatever was happening at the base?
Well, it's important to remember that correlation doesn't equal causation, but it definitely raises some red flags. Studies have shown that communities downwind from the Nevada test site, where a lot of nuclear testing happened, saw increased rates of certain cancers, leukemia, lymphoma, things like that. And these cancers have been linked to exposure to radioactive materials. So if similar materials were present at Area 51, you have to wonder about the risks to those living nearby.
Makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, did the government know about these potential health risks? And if they did they prioritize national security over the well-being of their own citizens?
That's a question that's haunted a lot of government actions throughout history. The pursuit of security is obviously important, but at what point does it cross the line? You know, when does it infringe on the rights and safety of the individual? It's a tough question, and one that's still debated today.
No doubt. And speaking of things that make you question what the government knew and when they knew it, let's move on to secret number 4. Okay, are you ready for this one? It took until 2013 for the U.S. government to officially acknowledge that Area 51 even exists.
Oh, no, right?
You'd think it was common knowledge.
It's almost comical. This place has been the subject of countless rumors, movies, documentaries. There was even that whole thing on Facebook about storming Area 51. And yet, for decades, it was like it didn't even exist.
It makes you wonder, what changed in 2013? Why then? Was it just the rise of the internet, you know, information spreading so fast they couldn't keep up the charade anymore? Or was there something else going on?
It's fascinating, isn't it? The impact of such a long delay in admitting something so widely known, it really makes you question everything, you know? And in the age of the internet, where information, both true and false, spreads like wildfire, it's more important than ever to be able to separate fact from fiction.
It's wild to think about, right? I mean, we all love a good conspiracy theory, but when the government stays silent for so long, it just adds fuel to the fire.
No doubt. It plays into that whole they're hiding something mentality. And speaking of hiding things, secret number 3 in this video, it's a big one, the infamous alien autopsy footage.
Oh yeah, the grainy black and white film. You know, the one supposedly shows government scientists cutting open an alien being?
Exactly. It's become a cultural phenomenon in itself. Of course, the video presents it as this big secret, but the reality is that footage has been pretty thoroughly debunked at this point. But it's a perfect example of how disinformation can take root, especially with something as shrouded in mystery as Area 51.
Totally. I remember watching that footage as a kid and thinking it was real. Blew my mind. Looking back, it's a good reminder to always be skeptical, especially when it comes to something as out there as aliens. But how do we define disinformation, really? Is it just speculation that gets out of hand, or is it something more intentional?
That's an important distinction. Disinformation isn't just speculation. It's the deliberate spreading of false information, and it's often used to mislead. So in the context of Area 51, this could look like fabricated stories, fake alien encounters, all designed to muddy the waters and discredit any genuine leaks or whistleblowers that might come forward.
So you're saying they're basically trying to create so much noise, so much fake content, that it becomes impossible to tell what's real and what's not. Like, if something truly unusual were happening at Area 51, would we even be able to see it through all the smoke and mirrors?
It's a chilling thought, isn't it? Has the sheer volume of misinformation made us all so skeptical that we dismiss even the most compelling evidence? It makes you question everything.
For sure. It definitely adds another layer to all this. But moving away from little green men for a second, secret number 2 highlights a very human reaction to all this secrecy. It involves the Skylab 4 astronauts back in 1973.
This is a fascinating one. You've got astronauts, these heroes of space exploration, nearly facing court-martial for simply taking a photograph.
That's crazy. The video says that one of the astronauts, William Pogue, took a picture of Groom Lake, which is near Area 51. Now, I get that they were told not to photograph certain areas, but the reaction seems extreme, doesn't it? Confiscated film, threats of treason, charges all for a snapshot.
According to the video, yeah, that's exactly what went down. And that level of intensity, even for a government known for its secrecy, it makes you wonder, what were they so afraid of? What could possibly be in that photo to warrant that kind of response?
It's like something out of a movie. You can't help but imagine what those astronauts saw, or what they thought they saw. It's almost as if the government's overreaction accidentally confirmed that something extraordinary was happening, even if we'll never know for sure what it was. It's kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you wonder if they just brushed it off. Would that photo have even become such a big deal?
It's like they say, sometimes the best way to make something famous is to try and ban it.
Exactly. It just makes people more curious. And speaking of trying to get a glimpse behind the curtain, secret number 1 in this video dives headfirst into that whole Storm Area 51 phenomenon.
Oh, yeah. That was a wild time online. Back in 2019, millions of people jokingly pledging to storm the base all at once. You gotta admit, it was kind of funny.
Oh, totally. It was like the perfect internet meme, you know?
Yeah.
But what I found really interesting wasn't the event itself, because obviously nobody actually stormed Area 51, but the government's response.
It did not mess around.
Right. Ready to protect America at
Yeah.
any cost. Those are some strong words for what was essentially an internet joke.
I think they wanted to send a clear message, like, we see you and don't even try it.
A show of force, almost.
Exactly. No matter how many memes you share, some secrets are staying put.
Well, they definitely got that point across. So after diving into these 7 so-called secrets, where does that leave us? We've talked about government secrecy, potential environmental impacts, even the power of misinformation. What's the big takeaway, do you think?
You know, I think it's important to remember that Area 51, it's more than just a place on a map. It's like this giant question mark, this blank space where we can project all our hopes and fears, you know?
Totally. It's like the ultimate Rorschach test for anyone who's ever been intrigued by conspiracy theories or government cover-ups or the possibility of life beyond our planet.
Exactly. And the fact that we may never have definitive answers, well, that's part of what keeps us coming back for more. It sparks curiosity, makes you think critically, and reminds us that some mysteries are meant to be explored, even if they're never fully solved.
Well said. And for those listening who want to keep digging, where would you point them?
Always a good idea to go back to the source whenever possible. Declassified government documents, even though they're often heavily redacted, can be really insightful. Eyewitness accounts too, though they should always be taken with a grain of salt. Even looking into the history of the towns and communities surrounding Area 51 can be really revealing.
And of course, never underestimate the power of a healthy dose of skepticism. Just because someone says it's true doesn't mean it is. Do your research, listen to different perspectives, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Couldn't agree more. When it comes to Area 51, the truth might be out there, but the search is half the fun.
Love that. A huge thank you to you, the listener, for joining us on this deep dive into the heart of the Nevada desert. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to finally crack the code of Area 51.